What if you could lead more effectively and go home on time? Welcome to the Lightbulb. I'm Zoe Thompson, leadership and performance coach, and each week I bring you 3 practical insights from my work helping impact-driven leaders transform from reactive to intentional leadership so they can finish work on time and take guilt-free time off, creating success that feels as good as it looks. Let's jump in. Welcome back. Episode 25. I've not long got back from volunteering with a local Bristol charity, Community of Purpose. You'll hear me talk about them a fair bit. So I work with them as a volunteer in a few different ways. This week, because it's the school holidays, they're running their Break Free program, which essentially is where the children who are in receipt of free school meals get to come and do day trips. And it's a really dignified way to make sure that they have breakfast and lunch and have some fun and get out of the house and do activities that they wouldn't normally have the opportunity to do. And it's great. And so today I did Laser Quest. Monday was their sports day. So I was running around with them on Monday. So it's good. Gets me out of the house, gets me doing things that I really enjoy doing. They're great kids, and it's always nice to spend a little bit of time away from work and do something that feels meaningful and feels impactful. And I'm very, very grateful that I get given the opportunity to do it. Break Free runs school holidays. The next part of my work with them is the Bristol Young Heroes, and I'll share a little bit more in future podcasts. But yeah, it's been a good week. Monday volunteering, Friday volunteering, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was full of client work, and it's gone in such a way I'm having to look at the calendar to remind myself of what happened on each day. So Tuesday we had our monthly leadership community call. I love these. I love getting the leaders in the community together. We jump on a call once a month. We check in from an accountability perspective, and then they all bring either a win to share, so something that's been working really well for them that would be beneficial for other people to hear, or they bring a challenge that they want some support with. And whilst I support them, it's great to see all of the leaders come up with different suggestions, ask different questions, help them to explore things in different ways. The leadership community is open. It is only £47 a month. You can pay as you go, or you can pay upfront for 12 months, which means you're only paying for 10, and you get a coaching session as a bonus because you're paying upfront. It's a great community. It's small, it's engaged, it's really valuable. The other part of the leadership community, in addition to the monthly call, is we have the monthly workshop, and that was on Thursday this week. This month we focused on coaching questions, and you'll hear me talk about this a lot. The way that we approach the conversations that we have with our team either creates dependency or it builds capability. And one of the key parts of that is using coaching style questions when people come to us for decisions or they come to us to problem solve. So on Thursday, we did a workshop on coaching questions for leaders, and that is now going into the resource library along with all of the other workshops that we've done and 8+ years of resources that they can have access to. So that is also included in the leadership community. That's £47 a month. You get your group coaching call and your workshop, and you have access to me on WhatsApp if you need support with anything else on a day-to-day basis. If you want to find out more, head to the website or pop me a message and I can share some more details. On Wednesday, I did a workshop for bookkeepers. As part of their CPD store conference, we focused a session on communication, managing conflict, and preparing for these calls as well. Different ways to prepare for them, different ways to approach them. So really, really good workshop with them. And straight after that, I hopped into the group call for those that are on the Elevate Your Efficiency Leadership Program, Module 1. They've been working on their time audit, and already, just on Module 1, they're making changes. And they are seeing a difference because of the changes that they are making. So that is in Module 1. So I cannot wait to see what else comes to fruition over the next 8 weeks whilst they're on the program. that's what I've been up to. I have talked about it a little bit in the newsletter, but that just covers off. And then because it's been so busy, I have taken myself off in the evenings to do some things that get me off of my phone, get me out of the house. And yeah, it's been good. I've been to the cinema. Last night I went to see Judy Love, who's a comedian, and I even went to an in-person networking, which was really interesting too. With all that being said, let's get into the light bulbs, because I know that that is what you are here for. Okay, light bulb 1, talking about rescuing. And this is one of the things we were looking to help leaders with in the workshop on Thursday. It's also come up in client sessions this week. Understanding that when we jump in to solve, when we jump in to fix, when we jump in to help make decisions, we are teaching people to wait to be rescued. And when we shift out of that mindset and we step into that coaching approach, when we step into that place where we can support the people, we can support our teams to learn, to grow, to develop, to build their knowledge, to build their skills, to build their confidence to take action, we create a more confident and self-sufficient team that are more likely to reach their full potential. When we don't do that, when we step in and give them the answer, when we step in and make that decision, they don't learn. And we're not learning either. We're telling them what we already know. So we're not helping them to develop, and we're holding them where they are. And often that's what becomes the frustration for us. It means, as came up in a client session, they don't take any initiative. They're waiting for them as a leader to come up with a plan, to come up with a solution, to look at what those options are. They bring the leader the problem and the leader solves it. They've been trained to wait rather than being trained to act. In the workshop, I talked about the KSA Bridge framework: knowledge, skills, and action. Your individual is on one side of the bridge. You need them to be on the other side. So what is in that gap? Is it a knowledge gap, a skills gap, or an action gap? We can assume that it is knowledge or skills, but often they know what they need to know and they can do what they need to do. It's the confidence to take action. And that action gap exists because rather than helping them to go over the bridge and get to the other side, we're going over the bridge to where they're at. And that doesn't help. In the workshop, we talked about different coaching frameworks, different ways to approach the individual when they approach us. What do you think? Not here's what I think. What could you do? Not here's what you should do. We want to disrupt the pattern of us rescuing, and we want to put the problem back where it belongs, which is in the hands of the individual who has responsibility for it. We don't want them to hand it over to us, and we don't want to take it off them either. So we need to support them to be able to do that. The more we fix, the less they learn. The more we rescue, the less they grow. We want to make sure that when we are answering their questions, their problems, when we're supporting them, that we are supporting and guiding and helping them to increase their knowledge, increase their skills, or increase their confidence to take action. Light bulb 2, different topic. And this is talking about calendars. Now, when we had the leadership group call on Tuesday, one of the community shared with us, and I got very excited about this, how they've been cancelling unnecessary meetings and they've been protecting time in their diary for focused work. Changer. And they said it has made such a big difference to their week because they've now got time to do the work that needs to be done. They've got time protected for the strategic work, for the work that needs that focus, that needs that attention. The second time this came up this week was in the program meeting, where one of the participants was sharing that they knew they felt overwhelmed by their calendar. They knew their calendar was busy. Their concern was they felt overwhelmed because they weren't capable. And it wasn't until they completed the time audit that they recognized that actually not many people would be able to perform at high level with a calendar that looks like that. It's not a capability issue. There wasn't any protected space. There weren't any buffer points around meetings. There wasn't any time blocked out for the things that are most important. And on top of that, not only is there no time in the calendar to do the things that are most important, they're being interrupted by their team a lot of the time as well. These two conversations are what has created Lightbulb 2. And that's that our calendar sends a message. If we leave lots of white space in our calendar, we're telling people that there's lots of free time there. And you know, and I know, that is not a free time because you're still working on things the rest of the time. The calendar would suggest that you are available. Your calendar suggests you're happy to go to lots of different meetings. We need to check in what meetings we're saying yes to, but also what our calendar looks like when we're not in meetings. Empty slots don't say strategic work. White space doesn't say working on priority tasks. And if we say yes to every meeting that we get invited to, we build that expectation that we go to every meeting that we're invited to. The conversation that we had on Tuesday is that there's a culture in this organization, and actually I don't think it's unique to this organization, is that empty slots are misinterpreted, that that person has capacity. And there's almost an expectation that your days are filled with meetings, when actually that's not really helpful because we need time to work on the strategic tasks, the priority work, the deep work, the longer term projects. We don't need permission to do the work, but we do want to make sure that our calendars communicate what we want them to communicate and communicate our boundaries too. So that might mean buffer time between meetings. It might mean color coding your calendar entries to show other people what is non-negotiable, what is protected time, and what can be moved. And this isn't necessarily for your benefit. You know what is in your calendar. You know what is negotiable, non-negotiable. You know what's a priority and what isn't. It's for the rest of your team who are looking at your calendar to see what your availability is and what your capacity is and how they can get time in that calendar. You need to create those boundaries in there, whether that's your lunch break, whether that's the time that you're going home, whether it's the times that you're working, you're on a focused activity. We want to be able to protect that time, but also make sure that our calendar is sending the message that we want to send. In a similar way, somebody else on the same call was sharing, and I talked about this in a Lightbulb a couple of weeks ago, the setting your alarm an hour before you're due to finish so that you can make a conscious decision of how you spend that last hour, what tasks need to be done, then actually having that set finish time and communicating that in your calendar is what helps other people to see that you are working on an activity and you're finishing at a certain time. So your calendar is very much open to interpretation. You need to think about what it looks like and what it's saying to other people. And is that what you want it to say? And if you then allow people to book over that focused time, what is it that you're communicating? If you allow people to move a time that shows is protected without a conversation, without some negotiation, what message is it you're sending? If your team sees lots of white space and empty slots, are they assuming that you are available? If you start protecting strategic work, priority tasks, chances are they're going to do the same. We lead by example, and how we show up, how we behave, the habits that we have, our teams are likely to follow. If we make ourselves available when we're on holiday, what message are we sending? Make your calendar say what you mean. And if it is open to interpretation, make sure it's clear. Make sure you're having those conversations and look to see where you might be able to do things differently so that it is a lot clearer. Lightbulb 3 is on a similar theme, and this is buffer time around your meetings. We talked about this on the program call, the blueprint call on Wednesday. So many people I speak to have back-to-back meetings. And there was a time, and this is what we were talking about, there was a time when the meetings were 50 minutes so that you had 10 minutes to finish up before you went to the next meeting on the hour. And now the meetings are running for the full 60 minutes. And sometimes those meetings are overrunning as well. So not only are the meetings back to back, they're overrunning and overlapping. It's no wonder people are overwhelmed. This isn't an individual's problem. The majority of people who have a calendar that runs like that, they're going to feel overwhelmed. If we've got packed meetings in back to back and no buffer time, then we don't have any time to prepare. We don't have any time to follow up. We don't have any time to consolidate our notes. We don't have any time to get out of one headspace and into another. Now, whilst this came up in the call on Wednesday, it's come up in client work as well. We need to treat the time in our calendars as important. We're not going to get any extra time, but what we can do is be smarter with the time that we have and make sure that we fiercely protect that time to make sure that we are productive. Back-to-back meetings feel productive, but not necessarily getting things done. We're often adding things to the to-do list rather than doing the work that gets them off the to-do list. And so it actually makes us less effective rather than more effective. We don't want to be going into meetings mentally still in the previous meeting. We need to have time to process. We need to have time to prepare. We need to have time to transition from one meeting to another. We want to make sure that when we do show up, we're not just there physically, we are there mentally as well. We need to get better at organizing meetings and add a buffer time in between. Now, some of you will have systems where you are able to book in that buffer time as part of booking that meeting. Alternatively, if your systems don't allow you to do that, then you will need to go through your calendar manually when you book in a meeting or when you confirm a meeting and make sure that you book in that buffer time before and after. 15 minutes is a great amount of time. It's enough to get yourself in the right headspace, get your notes together, go into that meeting fully prepared, and post-meeting, consolidate your notes, make a note of any actions, put those actions where they need to go, whether that's scheduled into your calendar to action or created as a task, however you work, and making sure that you have those buffer times either side of those meetings. Stop people booking in so that they are back to back. Allow yourself that buffer time to help you to be more efficient and more effective. It's where the high performance comes in. We need that time in between. Laziness, it's not rest. It's all part of the process. You can't run back-to-back meetings without any buffer and go in there as a high performer. People were already implementing this week. And that's what I loved about this, is that they were recognizing as soon as they spent the time looking at their calendar, they could see exactly what the problem was, and they were able to implement some really quick fixes straight away, which meant they did this on the Monday, straight after watching the workshop. And by Wednesday, when we had our first meeting, they already felt more in control. Still the same amount of meetings, still the same workload, but a little bit of space either side to make all of the difference. Creating those boundaries, communicating those boundaries and holding those boundaries to give yourself that little bit of time so that when you show up, whether that's as a subject matter expert or the decision maker, you are good to go. You've got your notes in front of you. You are ready to contribute and you are ready to make a difference. When you step into that meeting, you are effective, not just present. Now, I don't know what your calendar looks like. If you don't have a buffer zone either side of your meetings, then that is a quick win to take away from this episode. Chances are there'll be other light bulbs in there too. I would love to hear what those light bulbs are. It always intrigues me with everything that's covered in each podcast episode, what it is that you take away and what it is that you want to do differently as a result. I try and keep these podcasts short and sweet. I want to fill them with value so that if you listen to this every week and just implement one change, it's a great way to make some progress. And there's additional support there. The community I've talked about, the program is not running till September, but you can add yourself to the waiting list. You can sign up to coach with me at any point. But this is a great way for free to learn and to implement as you go. So I would love to hear what your takeaway is. Would love to hear the light bulb and the next step. And if there are topics that I'm not talking about and you would like me to talk about them, put me a message, let me know, and I'll weave it in. If need be, I'll do a separate episode with, what do they call it? Mailbag questions. Maybe we can add that in. If that's something of interest to you, let me know. Let me know what you need and let me know what value you're taking. And I'll be back again very soon with a new episode. Have a great week ahead. And those are your 3 takeaways for this week. Before you go, ask yourself, what's my light bulb moment from this? And now that I know what I know, what will I do differently? Choose one action, however small, and commit to it. That's how overwhelmed and reactive becomes aligned and intentional. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next week on the next episode of The Lightbulb.